You're listening to the HowePodcast 101. We give you a weekly look inside Howe and around Grayson County.
We have interviewed many guests, including Coach Simmons, Dan Thomas, and the voice of the Howe Bulldogs, Monty Walker.
HowePodcast 101. Keep up with Howe and laugh at the same time. Welcome back to the Howe Podcast 101. I am Jake Roberts, joined alongside Noah Riley, and we have a very special guest. Dan Thomas joins us over Zoom. How are you today?
Hey, very good. Thanks for doing this, guys. I really appreciate your interest and everything you do. You do a great podcast. Glad to be back on here.
Yeah, no, we're very glad to have you on. And I guess that segues us pretty perfectly into our first question. We last interviewed you in October. So can you tell us what all has happened since then? What's changed?
Quite a bit. Yeah, you interviewed me right after I got fired for the vaccine mandate. And so a few things have changed in my life. I'm doing something I never thought that I would do. I got involved in politics, of all things. And so I'm running for U.S. Congress. You can find out more about that, DanThomas4Congress.com. That's Dan Thomas, FOR Congress.com. And you can kind of see a little bit about my story for some of the viewers. I'm sure we'll talk about it on here.
Yeah.
But that kind of gives you an idea of where I stand on some of the issues that we may not cover on here as well. So yeah, I decided to run for U.S. Congress District 4. It's a crazy district, just got redrawn. It's wide ranging, all of Grayson County, Fannin County, Lamar, about 300,000 people in Collin County, even people in Denton County are in it. So you got to look at this map. The way that it was drawn is just, it's mind blowing to see how it works. So you might be in it. You never know, even if you weren't last time. So be sure to check that map. Yeah,
that's cool. We'll link your website in our description down below. So those of you that are watching this, you can go down there to visit the website. For our listeners who haven't heard the first interview, would you mind telling us a little bit about your family and background?
Well, I've got 2 kids. I've been married to my wife for 19 years now. I'm a member of First Baptist Sherman. We're a Christian family, and we just got out of church. Actually, that's why you caught me dressed up like this. So we live here in North Texas in Grayson County, and we love it here. This is where we thought we would make a home forever. But the Biden administration had some other ideas, and my company caved to the Biden administration. And so things have changed for us. And so now we're all in, trying to make a change in Washington, D.C.
Yeah,
that's perfect.
All right. So our third question we've got for you today is, so for listeners who may be unsure of what the role of a congressman is in the government, could you give us a description of what all that role involves?
Well, we have 3 co-equal branches of government. You have the executive branch, judicial, and legislative. The congressman is your representative in the legislative branch. It is the closest job in the federal government to the voters, because the voters get to decide whether to fire their congressman or hire a new one every 2 years. So it's the design of the Constitution is such that we have our congressman there to represent us, to really be closest to the will of the people, because their terms are every 2 years. The entire Congress is up for re-election every 2 years. So unlike senators that have staggered terms and get 6 years without having to go back to the voters, congressmen, it's every 2 years. And the reason for that is they wanted the voice of the people to be heard in this legislative branch. And so that's the role of a congressman as far as the Constitution is concerned. The practicality of it is really you have a voice in Washington that gives your ideas in your district a voice in the national debate. And I think that's one of the most important things that a congressman can do, is be that voice for this conservative district in Washington. And so I don't plan to sit any votes out. We're going to have our voice heard up there. And we won't be voting for bills that we haven't read. If I can't read the bill, my vote's going to be no. I think too often that a lot of times congressmen are pressured into voting for these bills they haven't even read by their own admission a lot of times. And that puts our Second Amendment in danger. They've got these red flag laws now that they're trying to slip in. So we have to be on the lookout for that kind of thing to protect our constitutional rights. We can't take a vote off. I won't be doing it. If I can't read the bill, my vote's going to be no. So the role of a congressman, I think quite simply is to represent the people, but in a way that you find out what they believe. They go up there and they represent those beliefs. So in Washington. I hope that answers your question. Also, there's the issue of constituent services here back at home. If you need someone to make a phone call, if you're having difficulty dealing with a federal agency, your congressman's there for you when it comes to that as well.
Yeah, no, that clarified a lot, and I'm sure that did for people listening as well. Noah, do you want me to go next?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So you have some kids. So what do they think of their dad running for Congress?
Oh, they love it. My 2-year-old has been saying the word sign, because that's a big part of running is getting signs placed all over the place. You have to win the sign war. Yeah. So he's heard us say the word sign so many times. It's just his new favorite word. My 11-year-old daughter is really into it. She went out yesterday with me, spent the whole day with me, and had a blast. She loves meeting people, and she's really outgoing. So
yeah, that's cool.
This is just her kind of thing. So they love it.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I'm glad they love it. Go ahead, Noah.
All right. So our fifth question: what made you decide to run for U.S. Congress and get involved in politics in general?
Yeah. Well, it's something I said that I would never do. And just let that be a warning to anybody out there. If you say, oh, I would never run for any kind of elected office, I'm not a politician. Well, don't ever say that. Don't ever say you would, because that's exactly what I said. Didn't live my life to be elected. I'm not looking to job hop from one elected office to another. This isn't going to be a career for me. It's just a moment in our country's history where we've gone completely insane. We've got to bring back a level of sanity and really bring back constitutional constraints to our government.
Yeah, for sure.
And so many of our problems are caused by straying from the Constitution. What got me involved was after I got fired because of the vaccine mandate, I went to Austin to testify, and there was a bill that would have basically just made the governor's executive order requiring businesses to give employees accommodations if they have a medical, religious, or if they've had COVID before. Just make that law in the state of Texas. Montana had already done it. It was protecting jobs there. Florida would later do it, some other states as well. So this bill died in committee. Went up there and testified. I listened to all of the lobbyists get up there. The reason why it never made it out of committee in Texas, where we pride ourselves on rugged individualism and protecting the individual. We couldn't get that bill out of committee because lobbyist after lobbyist told our Texas lawmakers that they were afraid of the federal government, that this would pit Texas businesses against the federal government, and they thought it would lead to lawsuit after lawsuit, and they just never made it out of committee for that reason. So that opened my eyes to how out of control the federal government has gotten, where even here in Texas, we're so afraid of the federal government. And
I know.
Representatives aren't doing anything to shrink it.
Texas is known. I mean, it's supposed to be like the state of strength. It's where the strength comes from, and it's sad to see stuff like that happening. When you win, what is a particular area that you are interested in seeing reformed?
I think in general, there's a lot of areas.
For sure.
Probably do an entire podcast just on that.
Definitely.
I would sum it up like this. Basically, we need to restore constitutional values to our country. I think that so many of our problems are caused by straying from the Constitution. We need to restore the power of Congress to when they write a lot of these spending bills, they're not even saying how the money should be spent. They just say here's $10 billion. Here's one sentence of a general area where you need to spend it. And they leave it up to the department heads to spend all this money and come up with rules for how to get the money. And the department heads themselves end up being the lawmakers. And the lawmakers are just sitting back, turning in a proxy vote.
Yeah.
Like they do it nowadays.
They're like bought.
Yeah.
It's like
there's
bought,
a lot of evidence for that, certainly. Yeah, that's another area that we can talk about as well.
Yeah.
But it's I think in general, restoring constitutional values will be my top priority, no matter the given issue. My focus will always be returning us to constitutional values.
No, and that's the most important role of government, is to keep the values of the Constitution, for sure, 100%.
Absolutely, yes.
All right, so I've got the next question. Have you ever been to DC? And if not, what is the first thing you'd like to do or see when you arrive there to be sworn in?
Oh yeah, I've been there, and
Okay.
I guess the first thing I'll do is check out the office accommodations. I'll be in the class of living in your office. You can actually do that there.
Okay.
And so that's I guess the first thing will be see how all that works. I want this to be an educational experience, especially for my older daughter. We homeschool, so there's going to be so many opportunities there for her to learn, firsthand how government works. We study so much about government, about how bills become law and that kind of thing. The Constitution, we teach her a lot about that in our homeschooling. And so it'll be, I'm sure, mind-blowing for her to see it all firsthand.
Yeah.
So I can't wait just to show her around Washington, D.C.
Yeah, no, that'll definitely be a different place. Okay. Do you have any proposed legislation for when you are elected?
I think the first thing that we need to do is get this vaccine mandate under control.
100%, because
and get it eradicated. It shouldn't exist. And so I'd like to see some legislation that says you can't enforce medical procedures on your employees. It's ridiculous. If you think about it, we all accept that maybe there's a dress code at your work, or you have to wear a uniform maybe. But can you imagine the outrage we would have if bosses suddenly started requiring you to wear that uniform in your sleep at home on your days off?
Yeah.
That's what a vaccine is. It's something that you take with you 100% of the time, even though you're not at your job 100% of the time.
Yeah, you can't take a vaccine off. Once it goes in, it doesn't come out.
Exactly. It's a clear constitutional violation. If we need legislation clarifying that, then we'll get it. Now, the U.S. Supreme Court is hearing a case right now. I'm very hopeful, although based on some of the comments from some of the Supreme Court justices, I'm not 100% sure that we'll get the result that we want there. So if there needs to be more legislation in that realm, that's what I look forward to the most, getting in there and getting that cleaned up.
Yeah, no, for sure. Do you have the next one?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Okay. Are there any special interest committees that you'd be interested in being a part of?
Special interest committee, like caucuses?
Yeah.
Yes.
The Freedom Caucus.
Okay.
I would be honored to be a part of that. I see eye to eye on just every issue that I've seen them cover. I can't think of one that I don't. So Freedom Caucus, I would definitely be a top priority being a part of that.
Okay. And then here's our last one. How can those of us in the general public go about taking a more active role in government? Because we saw you take an active role in government. You did what happened to you wasn't right, and you decided to do something about it. So how can others have a role?
I think get involved in a political campaign, jump into it, see how it's all done. And I think that people should start running for office themselves. A big problem is we leave it up to these political elites that job hop from this elected office to that elected office to another elected office, and they're over here and they're over there. And we just keep recycling the same people year in and year out, and we keep having the same problems every year. Those two issues are connected. We need new people to take a break out of their lives, get involved, get some of these things fixed, and go right back to your life. Our founding fathers, most of them didn't make a career out of this. They went in, They did what was called of them at the time, and then they went back to the farm in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
So I think we need to bring back that spirit in this country of anybody can be involved in this, and everybody should get involved at some level, whether it's helping in a campaign. I'd love for you to help in my campaign, Dan Thomas for Congress.com. But if it's running yourself, you should run yourself. I think one of the biggest issues we have, aside from an out of control Congress that's straying from the Constitution, one of the biggest issues we have in this country right now is our school boards. Run for school board. We need more constitutional conservatives running for school board out there. So, it's so many offices that we need so many strong conservatives in. I want people listening to this to really consider getting involved, because our country is so far out of control.
Yeah.
We can bring it back, but it takes everyone out there listening getting involved.
For sure, 100%. I agree with that. And even if you're if you don't think that you can be involved in politics, you can. It doesn't mean you have to run for office, but at the very least, pay attention to who you're voting for. So, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes,
we really
thank you.
appreciate it. We really appreciate
Hey,
it.
I appreciate you guys. Yeah, love that How 101.
So tell us again how they can learn more about you.
All right, go to Dan Thomas for Congress.com. That's Dan Thomas, FOR Congress.com. You can check me out there. You can pop in your email. We can keep in touch with you, and hope to hear from everybody.
We'll put a link in the description down below again. So
Awesome.
make sure to click on that link. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll have to do it again sometime.